You know what time it is? It's mime time.
We're only here today because of the people who came before us. Our parents, and their parents, and their parents' parents' parents. And after us come our children, their children, and their children's children's children. If you don't have children, then it's your siblings' children, or other children in your family or relatives' children. But somebody's got to be around to keep on going for as long as life keeps on going. As long as humanity keeps playing this game, right? It's your neighbor's kids. It's your countrymen's children. So this podcast is really just one big prayer to the ancestors out of gratitude, asking for guidance and wisdom, and out of love to the future generations to come, because we live much better lives than our ancestors did. And thanks to them, we live in a better world, I would argue. And so we strive to build a better world for future generations. Continuing on what we talked about regarding Marcus Aurelius and the golden ideals of Stoic virtue. If you've been listening to the past couple of episodes, you know I've been reading Meditations and just been really into Marcus Aurelius as of late. What really matters is that one should live a life of virtue in service to others, that virtue is its own reward, and that in the end, nothing matters because we all die. Everyone we know will die, and the sun will become a red giant in 5 billion years and become a white dwarf, and its hydrogen core runs out, and nobody will remember anything. Nobody will be there to remember, anything. So you might as well only be concerned about what's within your control, not the events of the world or how other people act or feel, but what you say and do insofar as it is righteous. You can live your life and find meaning and purpose in the struggle, rising to the challenges of day-to-day life, contemplating where we came from and where we're going, and seeing if we can make any difference in this brief gasp of life we experience in our own ways. Here's one possible take. Nothing in the end really matters. It's like that Linkin Park song. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Bow, 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 bow. Yeah, in the end, guys, nothing really matters, which actually, paradoxically, enables us to find meaning in virtuous action, all the more so. And nothing matters more than leaving a better world for future generations, practically. At the end of life, it's not money, possessions, status, fame, or even the approval or opinions of others that matters. All of that is vapor. What endures are the acts of kindness and love we gave and received. If nothing lasts, not empires, not wealth, not opinions of others, then what does last? The chain of human lives. The memory of kindness passed down. The invisible thread between our ancestors and our descendants. The invisible thread that is in your heart, mind, and soul, woven through daily thoughts and actions. And we should imbue them with goodwill, kindness, and love. So to illustrate this, there's a story I want to share. There's this Korean lady my brother and I know here in San Diego. We call her Auntie Jay. We don't know a lot of Korean people in San Diego, but she's one of our favorite people. She's incredible. She's an incredible woman in her 70s who has been a straight-up hustler her entire life and now owns multiple properties in the US and in Korea. She's industrious, intelligent, confident, charming. Her story alone is incredible, but I'll save that for another episode. She's someone who's become a dear family friend to us. And she had expressed to my brother some time ago that she wanted to visit an old grandma who had once saved her family's life back in Korea when she was a young girl decades ago, like a lifetime ago. And that this old lady, this old grandma, was at an elderly residential facility, like a nursing home or something, up in LA, like a 3 hour drive from where we are in San Diego. But Auntie Jay, being in her 70s herself, wasn't comfortable making the drive up to LA to see this old grandma alone. So my brother kindly offered, and they went on a trip in the morning all the way up to visit said old grandma, who I think is like 97. So it was just this week. My brother, his girlfriend, and Auntie Jay drove all the way up to LA to visit this old grandma. I didn't go with them because I had to stay and work. And when they came back from LA the same day, she told me about this old grandma and how the visit went and why this woman, this old grandma, was so important to her. Now, Auntie Jay's very energetic and humorous and charming. I love listening to her. She speaks at a million miles a minute, story after story, and it's impossible for me to keep up with everything she's saying in Korean. To this day, my Korean's still lacking. I think I understand like 2/3 of what Auntie Jay tells me, if not half. It takes all my focus and attention to really try to respectfully and curiously listen. I'm just saying this to let you know that I'm totally not doing her story justice at all and probably missing important details. But basically, Auntie Jay said that decades ago in the 1970s, her family didn't have a place to stay. But her family came to someone explaining that they got kicked out of their place and could no longer afford rent. It was some kind of situation where they were homeless. And out of pity, this man that they had come to called his wife, who was the old grandma mentioned before. And she was a deacon in the church. I think maybe they met through the church. I'm not really not sure. I don't remember. And the husband asked the wife if it was okay if they could give Auntie Jay's family a place to stay for free. And this woman, this old grandma, who at the time was not as an old grandma, this was like 50 years ago. This woman owned like 28 buildings in Korea. And that is an insane amount of wealth. She was a hearty woman herself from North Korea, Pyongyang. And basically, Auntie Jay's family and this old grandma's family, they became really close. And later on, Auntie Jay ended up buying that home that she was living in for a few years from the lady who had helped her. Again, there are tons of details, and I wish I could talk with Auntie Jay in time to clarify certain details, and so I could relay the story to you more properly. But I got to push this episode out and just transfer a deep message. Okay. Auntie Jay said the last time she saw this woman was 50 something years ago when she was like 18. And their bond was such that they kept in touch all that time. And Auntie Jay moved to America and that old grandma moved to America in their own time, in their own journeys. They both have these crazy life stories. And basically, what I heard was, to this day, this old grandma's daughters don't talk all that much to her or visit her that much or even give her money. But when Auntie Jay went up this week, she brought a whole cooler filled with food from Zion Market, which is the Korean store, and $500, right? She brought yongdon. She brought money for the old grandma to use. And so they were talking about the past, right? Again, it's my brother, Auntie Jay, and my brother's girlfriend, the three of them visiting this old grandma up at her home all the way up in LA. And they're sitting in this old grandma's home and they're having a chat, right? So they're talking about the past, and the old grandma said, 헛되고 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 헛도다, right? So hut in Korean, it means like emptiness, empty, void, or without substance. She's saying all of the things that she did in her past were meaningless, or the stuff that she had, you know. These Korean ladies are Christian, so it's probably a reference to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. You know that saying, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. If you never read the Bible, Ecclesiastes is written in the voice of King Solomon. And he's kind of like Marcus Aurelius. He was the richest, wisest man of his age. He had all the power, all the money, all the women, and whatever he wanted, all the food, and you know, everything he wanted. And at the end of his life, King Solomon said it didn't mean anything. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. I mean, that's like an archaic, vanity is like an archaic English translation. The Hebrew word there, hevel, you know, hevel of hevel, all is hevel. Hevel means vapor or breath. It's like fleeting emptiness or transience. And so it's translated as hut in Korean. So when this old grandma is saying 헛되고 헛되고 헛되도다, what she's saying is all those years owning 20 buildings, doing all this and that, and all the crazy things that happen in life, none of it matters to this old Korean grandma that was being visited by Auntie Jay and my brother and his girlfriend. After an entire lifetime, what matters is how this old grandma helped another person decades ago in another country, and how Auntie Jay is eternally grateful to this lady to this day. And the warmth, compassion, gratitude, respect, and love that they have for each other, this old grandma and Auntie Jay. And because of that lady, Auntie Jay had a much better start in life, and in later raising her own son, who has his own child, as Auntie Jay herself is a grandma. And Auntie Jay's story is really incredible, and she really supported her son after her husband passed away, when her son was like 8 years old. And basically this guy, you know, eventually got a full ride to MIT and moved to America. And, you know, Auntie Jay's just got an incredible story that, again, I'm not really doing justice to. So, you know, a lot of this, how could it have happened if not for that old grandma helping Auntie Jay a long time ago? You know, these are the implications. So I could speak for hours on this topic of wanting to leave a better world for future generations, and spin a bunch of ways, talk about different stories. But this story is something relevant that just happened this past week that I think is a good example of, you know, these things that we talk about on this podcast, which is about, like, you know, what really matters in this life, and what is our identity. You know, how do we embrace our identity in whatever way, shape, or form? And I think that's by being good people at the end of it. I hope this makes sense. And you already know this truth. In the end, what matters is not wealth or pleasure or status, but the kindness and connection we share with others, those who helped you and those you helped to live better lives. Goodwill and good action towards your fellow human being is what matters at the end of our lives. Deep down, I think everyone knows this. It's just a reminder. And so I offer this, a prayer to the ancestors for future generations. We honor you and thank you for the struggles you endured, the sacrifices you made so that we could live and breathe today. Even if we forget your names or never even knew them, your breath is in our lungs, your blood in our veins. Give us the courage to act with integrity when it's hard, to serve when it's inconvenient, to forgive when it's painful. Help us walk with humility and dignity, to see clearly through the illusions of wealth, status, and pride, ego. May we plant seeds we will never see grow. May our children inherit not only the earth, but also our love and our example. Let the chain of kindness not be broken, but grow stronger with each generation. Let us show love and generosity to others. Help remind us what truly matters, the kindness, benevolence, and goodwill we show ourselves and others, and that we want to leave a better world for our children and their children. out of love. Because in the end, all that remains is love. And we are love, always in the continuous search of finding itself, looking for the place to call home, to the place we never left. Thank you so much for listening, and may the ancestors watch over you. Peace.